Hey there, folks. Welcome once again to one of our at-home table reads. Tonight we are finishing out the trilogy for the original Saw films. Tonight on Action Description, Kayli is going to be walking us on through. I'm going to be continuing the role of John Kramer, aka Jigsaw. Nicole is going to be keeping her video off right now, but she's returning as Amanda. We have, and as to our two competitors in the game tonight, we have Randi as Jeff and Jess as Lynn. And taking over a few of our miscellaneous roles across the board, we have Angi. All right. Well, if you would like to start us off, Kayli, take us away.
All right. Fade in. Interior classroom, elementary school night. The void, nothingness. This is what an atheist would say the afterlife looks like. Then, a shower of sparks flares to life from an arc welder. The intense blue core of the flame traces the edge of a door in the center of the darkness. Someone is trying to get inside the room from the other side of the door. When the blowtorch has finished its work, the heavy iron door tumbles forward, smashing on a concrete floor. A hornet's nest of flashlights swarm outside the doorway, the silhouettes controlling them crouched in an attack position. The flashlights are attached to rifle barrels, their beams exploring the black space beyond the door and revealing it to be a long-forgotten place of learning. Finger paintings are strewn across the floor. The walls have been scorched by the force of an intense heat. Smoke and ash swirl around in the light. Overturned chairs and tables are scattered around like wooden corpses. And then one of the flashlights lands on the real thing, the charred torso of a human being. Another flashlight finds an arm, then a leg. A shape has been cut out of the meaty flesh on the thigh, a jigsaw piece. One of the shadows outside the door steps into the classroom, lifting a gas mask and revealing the face of a burly SWAT member named Rig. He sighs and lowers his gun.
Somebody call Carrie.
Flash cut to interior hallway, outside classroom, elementary school, night 1A, later. Chaos. What was once a hallway bustling with school children is now crammed with police officers who mill around the doorway with the stoic faces of the desensitized. All except for one, Carrie, whose face cannot hide a mixture of emotion and exhaustion. She charges up the hallway towards the door, a police badge dangling around her neck before Rig steps in her way. Don't. Carrie nails him with a desperate look. She is not her usual composed self. The toughness has drained out of her face. Is it him? Is it Eric?
We don't know yet.
Carrie shoulders past him, marching into interior classroom, elementary school night. A camera flash bathes the carnage in pure white light for a split second. What we see is not pretty. Carrie sees a male officer, Hoffman, hunched over the head and torso of the corpse. She approaches slowly, fearing the worst. Rig appears behind her, but doesn't stop her. Hoffman looks up, shining his flashlight in Carrie's eyes. An agonizing beat, and then...
It's not Detective Matthews.
Carrie closes her eyes, lets out a sigh. She traces her flashlight along a steel chain coiled on the floor. The chain runs up to an iron cleat on the wall. She scans the room. There are several chains, all hanging down from different points on the walls. What happened? Hoffman lifts the end of one chain with a gloved hand, examining a blood-encrusted ring on the end of it.
It looks like the victim was held in place by these chains.
Flash cut to interior classroom, elementary school night, flashback. A man struggles slowly to his feet from a rickety chair. He grunts in pain, rising into a pool of light cast by tubes on the walls. What we see will horrify even the most hardened stomach. He is standing half naked in the center of the room. Chains are stretched taut from various points on the walls, each one ending in a ring that pierces his flesh in a different spot. 2 chains hang from the ceiling, hooked into his shoulders. Other chains hook into his legs, arms, hands. One of them is even hooked into his front jaw. He is a human marionette in a sick, grand Goongal fantasy. He cries out in terror, and then bzz, a square of static explodes to life on a TV screen in the corner. It cuts to an image of a face. The bone-white wooden face of a harlequin puppet. Its slotted jaw moves, emitting a heavily distorted voice.
Hello, Troy. I want to play a game. This game will take place in a room not much bigger than the room you've spent most of your life in. A prison cell. Despite all the advantages and privileges you were given at birth, you have returned to prison again and again, more comfortable in chains than you are in freedom. Tonight, we will see how far you are willing to go to break those chains once and for all.
Interior classroom, elementary school, night. Present. Hoffman directs his flashlight at various nails scattered across the floor.
There was a bomb in the room. All he had to do was remove each chain and walk out the door before it went off.
Guess he wasn't fast enough.
Hoffman shoots him a displeased glare.
It wasn't as easy as it sounds.
Flash cut to interior classroom, elementary school, night, flashback. The doll laughs on the TV, seems to be relishing this.
Live or die, Troy. Make your choice.
The screen cuts to static. Behind Troy, a digital display on a time bomb counts down. The bomb has been crudely fashioned out of a glass jar filled with nails and other implements of pain. 1 minute, 30 seconds to go. Terrified, Troy grabs the chain hooked into his right hand. He pulls it taut, the thin flesh stretching with it. He takes a deep breath.
1, 2, 3.
Troy wrenches the chain as hard as he can, only succeeding in pulling his skin forward. He lets out a blood-curdling cry of pain. Blood squirts from the wound. The chain is still attached, only now his skin is ripped. He yanks the chain once more, freeing it. 58 seconds, 57, 56. Everything we see following this is shown in rapid cuts, like a 9 Inch Nails snuff movie edited by a schizophrenic. Troy wrenches the chain attached to his shoulders. It comes free with one pull and another scream of pain. Then the stomach. He lets out a grunt, almost numb at this point. 49 seconds, 48, 47. The finger chain comes next. Troy heaves at it. His fingernail slowly comes loose with the ring, coming off completely when the hook rips free. He takes hold of the chain hooked into his jaw. He pulls it as hard as he can, but there is no moving it. Sobbing and drenched in blood, he turns to look at the clock, held in place now by just 4 chains. 17 seconds, 16, 15. Desperate, Troy wraps the chain under his foot. He closes his eyes and stomps on the chain, putting all of his weight on it. His jaw snaps forward, cracking as he breaks it. Flash cut to interior classroom, elementary school, night, present. Carrie crouches next to the head of the corpse. I had this feeling, I really thought this was going to be Eric.
Eric's still in the conclusion phase. He's not a homicide case.
Carrie stares off into space, haunted. I have these nightmares where I see him. She looks up at Hoffman. I'll never forgive myself for what happened.
It's nobody's fault, Carrie.
It's always somebody's fault.
And that somebody isn't you. That somebody is still out there. So put all your anger towards finding them and putting them away.
Carrie nods. Hoffman scans the room, surveying the slaughter.
It just doesn't make sense. When you had Jigsaw, you said he could barely walk. How could he have done all this?
I'm not so sure he did. So far, it doesn't follow his pattern.
What do you mean?
Carrie paces the room. How did you get in here?
We broke the door down.
Why?
Because somebody heard an explosion, took a look through the slot in the door, saw a body, and called us.
No, I mean, why did you have to break down the door? Was it locked from the outside?
Yeah, it was more than locked. It was sealed shut. A truck couldn't get through it.
Exactly. Rig is confused.
I'm not sure I follow.
Carrie marches over to the door. If the aim of Jigsaw's game was to get out of the room before the bomb went off, then why was the door locked? The victim couldn't have gotten out even if he wanted to. Rig holds her gaze, intrigued. A female forensic interrupts, holding up an evidence bag with a videotape inside of it.
You won't believe this. We got the tape out clean.
Carrie's eyes drift down to the charred torso, then the jigsaw piece etched out of it. Cut to interior hallway, Carrie's apartment, night. A long, narrow hallway. Clothes tossed haphazardly clutter the floor. We slowly push down toward an open door at the end of the hall, bathed in candlelight. Interior bathroom, Carrie's apartment, night. Carrie sits up in the bath, hugging her knees. Steam rises from the water. She runs her hand through her hair. It is caked with ash from the crime scene. She closes her eyes, then lowers her head under, holding her breath for as long as she can, cleansing away the filth. Interior bathroom, Carrie's apartment, night. Later, the mirror is fogged with condensation. Carrie steps up to it, wiping away a layer of it. Her heart stops when she sees a reflection of Eric standing behind her, his shirt and pants soaked through with sweat and blood. Eric? She whips around, seeing no one. She turns back to the mirror, staring herself in the eyes. She begins to cry. Interior, Carrie's apartment, bedroom, night. Later, Carrie sits up in bed, sporting a pair of reading glasses, watching the videotaped message from Jigsaw we saw earlier. Files are scattered around her. Her gun sits on the nightstand. She fast forwards the tape a little, then lets it run.
Live or die, Troy. Make your choice.
The screen cuts to static as before. Carrie leans back, sighs. White noise swarms across the TV screen like millions of ants, reflecting in her glasses. Then suddenly, the static cuts out and an image appears on the screen. A grainy, blue-tinged image, blurry. Carrie sits up, leaning forward and squinting at the image, hard to see what it is. Black bars run across the top and bottom of the screen with the blurred figure of a person in the center. She hits rewind on the remote, but the tape doesn't respond. She looks back up at the screen, then notices something. She freezes. After a beat, she slowly moves her arm above her head. The figure on the screen moves its arm in tandem. The figure on the screen is her. Dread compels her eyes downwards, where she sees a loosely hidden cable running from the back of her TV unit along the floor and into the closet in the opposite corner. In one swift movement, she snatches her gun off the nightstand and fires, blowing 4 holes through the wooden Venetian slats on the closet door. The camera image on the TV screen doesn't move. She leaps out of bed, aiming her gun at the closet. She takes a step closer. The image on the TV mirrors this. Her breathing is all we can hear. She takes another step, her body taking up the whole TV screen now. She reaches out slowly, gripping the door handle. A deep breath. She flings the closet door open, revealing a video camera on a tripod staring straight at her. The record light has been taped over. She aims her gun into the darkened closet behind the camera at rows and rows of suits hanging in color-coordinated order. Her chest takes up the entire TV screen as she leans in front of the camera lens, reaching up and yanking a chain, which brings to life a light bulb dangling. The closet is empty. Carrie steps back, then glances over at the TV. On it, a dark figure is standing directly behind her. Carrie screams as the cloaked figure rams a syringe into her neck with the force of a knife. Carrie immediately weakens, winding down as the liquid inside the needle is pushed into her. On the TV screen, we see Carrie's body drop to the floor, but we cannot see the face of the assailant as they approach the camera. The TV cuts to static once more. Dissolve to interior, subterranean chamber, night. A pool of water gathers on a stone floor, or is it blood? We pull back from the blood, finding its source. Carrie. She's unconscious with only her face lit by a bright shaft of light from overhead. She is strapped into some sort of harness, but we can't make it out yet. We're in too close, seeing only glints of steel and hints of danger. Hanging on a chain directly in front of her is a large glass container filled with a urine-colored liquid. All is quiet until a key drops into the container from above. The liquid in the container splashes out, a drop of it hitting Carrie's face. The second the drop touches her skin, the flesh begins to sizzle and burn. It's acid. Carrie explodes awake, gasping for air, the sharp pain firing through her entire body as she moves. She looks downward and we see the source of her agony. She is suspended above the ground by 2 chains that hang down from a sewer grate in the ceiling. The chains are attached to a harness, which wraps around her neck and waist. A monstrous iron device is clamped onto her back like the spine of an H.R. Geiger-designed insect. The metal arms extend upward from the device, then bend at a joint and encircle her like the legs of a mechanical praying mantis. Each arm is lined with talons which protrude from the metal and pierce the skin under her ribcage and behind her collarbones, cocooning her. Carrie's face fills with the terror of someone who knows what is coming. She kicks and flails in the harness, straining under the weight of the device. A television screen spits to life in front of her. On it is a face that plagues her nightmares, the mouthpiece for Jigsaw, the doll. It looks at her, seeing her through the screen.
Hello, Carrie. I want to play a game. Up until now, you've spent your life among the dead, piecing together their final moments. You are good at this because, like you, or like them, you are also dead. Dead on the inside. You identify more with a corpse than you do with a living human. I believe that you want to join your true family, indeed your only family, in death. Tonight we will put that theory to the test. The device you are wearing is hooked into your rib cage. By the time this tape is finished, you will have 1 minute to find a way out. When the timer goes off, well, you better than anyone should know what happens then.
The voice pauses, laughing.
There is one key that would unlock the harness, Carrie. It's right in front of you. All you have to do is reach into the acid and take it. But do it quickly. The acid will dissolve the key in a matter of minutes. Which road will you take? Life or afterlife? Make your choice.
The screen is suddenly awash with static snow. Carrie tilts her head back, squinting up at the glass container above her. She knows what she must do. Tick, tick, tick. Carrie reaches upwards, her fingers touching the bottom of the container. She pushes it forward, hoping to pour the acid out in front of her, whilst catching the key at the same time. A portion of the acid pours out, hitting her leg on the way to the floor. Instantly, the flesh on her thigh begins to sizzle as the acid eats into it, the fabric on her pants smoking. She screams in agony. Tick, tick. She takes a deep breath, then reaches up again, this time tipping the container carefully. The acid attacks the flesh of her fingers like liquid piranhas, the skin dissolving and exposing muscle and bone. Tick, tick, tick. The key is just inches out of reach. Screaming, she tips the container further, maybe a little too far. The entire container of acid pours down her legs and thighs. She screams as it pours down her legs, her pants all but melting away. The flesh hangs off her hand like loose fabric. In agony, Carrie grabs the key. She feels around the device, struggling to locate the lock. Tick, tick, tick. Desperate, she tries to force the key in. Click, the key locks in place. She turns the key. The lock pops open. As fast as she can, she removes the padlock, tossing it to the ground. A hint of relief crosses her face, but it is only fleeting. The device stays locked in her flesh. Suddenly, the door to the room groans open, revealing the cloaked figure who brought Carrie here. We cannot see the figure's face, but Carrie can. She freezes. You. Boom. The device explodes open like a mechanized butterfly, snapping bones like twigs and spraying blood and viscera across the room in a gaudy shower. Carrie gasps. Her entire chest has been opened up, exposing muscle and internal organs. She is a living anatomical dummy. Her breathing gets slower and slower. In the pool of white light from above, she looks like an angel with metal wings suspended above the concrete floor. A slowly dying angel. And then finally, a dead angel. Cut to interior bedroom condominium morning. A hand on an arched male back. A wedding ring glitters on one of the fingers. The hand belongs to a woman. A mane of black hair is draped across the pillows behind her. Her name is Lynn. She looks lost, as if her mind was permanently somewhere else. She kisses the man above her quickly, distractedly rejecting his amorous advances. His name is Chris, 40s.
I can't.
She sits up on the edge of the bed, staring at the floor.
I've got to be at the hospital by 9.
She doesn't move from the edge of the bed.
It's Tuesday. I thought you started at 11.
They changed it on me at the last minute.
You better head off then.
I am.
Lynn stands up, pulling on a pair of pants and going over to the closet and grabbing her coat. During all of this, she never once looks at Chris.
You're not going to have a shower?
I'll shower at the hospital.
Can we just talk for like 5 minutes?
Lynn doesn't respond. She reaches into her purse and takes out a bottle of antidepressants, swallowing 2 of them.
Okay. How about you just make eye contact with me for 5 seconds?
Lynn stops and looks at him.
What's wrong?
Oh, nothing. Just everything.
I can't do this now, Chris.
Jesus, I know something's on your mind. I want to talk about it.
A long beat passes.
I'm late.
I don't care about your fucking job.
What is it you want from me, Chris?
Chris looks down, almost ashamed, the words near impossible to say.
A divorce.
His words hang in the air like smoke from an explosion. Lynn freezes, the words hitting her hard. She slams the door behind her. Cut to interior emergency room, the Angels Hospital night. Boom, 2 swing doors burst open as a gurney is wheeled through them. The organized chaos of an emergency room follows. The ping of heart rate monitors, the gurgling of machine-assisted breathing, the shouts of doctors, the moans of the patient. In this case, a 6-year-old boy. Blood spills down the chest of the boy, his body shuddering and trembling. A tube runs from his throat to a ventilator. A doctor races to the gurney's side.
VA, car skidded into oncoming traffic, head-on, collision with an SUV.
What's his pressure?
80 over palpable, pulse rate high.
Get me Dr. Denlin.
Another gurney is wheeled into the adjoining room. A woman, 40s, lies atop. She too is covered in blood, obviously the boy's mother.
Dr. Denlin, emergency. Please report to trauma immediately.
Nurses scramble around the boy, preparing to lift him onto an operating bed.
Okay. 1, 2, 3.
They all hoist him onto the operating bed.
We're losing pressure.
He must be losing blood volume. Get 6 units of O positive.
He scans around annoyed.
Where's Lynn?
The head nurse, Deborah, leaves the huddle.
Find her.
We follow Deborah as she sprints away from the scene. Interior locker room, hospital night. Lynn stares into her locker. She seems a million miles away. The door barrels open. It's Deborah.
Lynn, let's go.
Lynn snaps to life, shutting her locker. Interior emergency room, the Angels Hospital night. Lynn shoulders her way into the pack around the young boy.
Nice of you to show up. His pressure's dropping rapidly. I think he's losing blood.
Pressure down to 70.
The child begins convulsing.
He's going into shock.
Lynn stares at the boy. Amidst all the chaos, she seems calm somehow. She takes a stethoscope, listening to the boy's chest.
Get an OR ready. We're gonna have to crack his chest.
Wait,
What?
I can't hear any breathing on the left side.
And?
It's not blood loss, it's tension pneumo.
Pressure below 60. I'm not getting anything.
All eyes are on Lynn.
Get a chest tube in him.
Lynn, we need to get him to the OR now.
He's gonna flatline.
Just do it.
We hear the whine of the heart rate monitor as the heart rate goes flat.
Give me a 1/4 amp of EPI.
The nurse cuts an incision under his armpit, pushing a chest tube in.
I'm getting a rush of air.
And then, beep, beep, beep. His heart is beating again.
Pressure rising to 70.
Everyone watches the monitors.
Pressure back to 80. Pressure normal.
Everyone sighs with relief. He's alive.
Nice work, doctor.
Interior emergency room, the Angels Hospital night later. Lynn walks away from the trauma area, emotionless. Deborah follows her, taking her by the arm and hauling her into a separate section, drawing the curtain across for privacy, mad as hell.
Who are you?
What?
Who are you?
Deborah gestures to her head.
The woman standing in front of me had to be dragged from the locker room and put a chest tube in a trauma patient. Lynn Denlin would have been the first one there.
Lynn can't even make eye contact with her.
If you've got something on your mind, go upstairs to psych, or maybe go back to oncology and give lectures on tomotherapy all day. Just don't bring it into the ER. We don't have any seconds to spare.
Deborah marches away, leaving Lynn alone. Interior locker room, the Angels Hospital night. Lynn sits alone in the dark locker area, staring into space. She looks up, hearing a noise. She looks into a bottle of antidepressants. She opens the bottle and pours 2 pills into the palm of her hand. She stares at them, contemplates. She finally puts them back into the bottle, then takes her bag from an open locker behind her and stashes them inside. She shuts the locker, slings the bag over her shoulder, and we follow her to the door. She grips the handle and turns it, but it doesn't give. Lynn furrows her brow. The door is locked.
What the hell?
She turns around and slams right into a cloaked figure, then blackness. Dissolve to. Interior corridor, outside Jigsaw's lair, night. We pull back from the black cloak of the figure from the locker room. The cloaked figure walks down the narrow corridor, approaching a large steel door. Masked in shadows, the figure leans in, forcing open the door. Interior Jigsaw's lair, monitor room, night. The figure makes its way through the small office, now turned into a monitor room. 5 monitors line the desk. The figure walks by each one, turning it on. The figure continues through the office, down a small set of stairs, into Jigsaw's lair, night. Darkness until a series of overhead fluorescent lights burst to life, revealing a veritable museum of pain. The filing cabinets sit in disrepair against one wall. Shelving lining the opposite wall is cluttered with medical supplies and bottles of pills. A desk in the corner is home to roughly sketched schematics and drawings. Work tools hang on nails. Instrument of torture are cluttered on the floor, the jaw trap, the head trap, a rusted old bear trap, and coils of razor wire. The whole room is filled with the sluggish hiss of machine-assisted breathing, accompanied by the omnipresent beep of a heart monitor. The whole room is filled. The sound is coming from an adjoining room. A plastic sheet strung across the doorway. A sickly green glow emerges from beyond it. It is a little darker than this room. And then there's something else. Another noise. At first slightly mumbled, then growing more panicked. The muffled cries of someone in distress. The sounds of a struggle echo through the room. Wood knocking on old tile, metal rattling against metal, and then,
Help me! Please, somebody help me!
the camera drifts off the cloaked figure and over to the voice. A woman is bound and tied to a wheelchair. The woman weakly tries to free herself, to no avail. We widen and reveal Lynn as the woman. Her face is flushed, her body drenched in sweat. A gag is hanging around her neck.
Please, I know you're there. Please help me.
Suddenly, the cloaked figure appears behind Lynn.
You need to calm down.
The figure reaches up, removing the cloak. A young woman is underneath it, long brown hair hanging in front of her eyes. This is Amanda. Lynn turns her head as far as she can, just barely able to make out the person behind her.
Why are you doing this?
Amanda begins to wheel Lynn towards the plastic. As they get nearer, the outline of a figure on a bed takes shape. Amanda stops Lynn and slowly pulls back the plastic. Lynn gasps. Interior, the sick room, Jigsaw's lair, night. The frail body of a man lies on a gurney inside the room, tubes running out of his arm. His calm, expressionless face belies the cruelty he has wrought over others. Jigsaw. He is surrounded by medical equipment. Candles flicker around his bed, casting eerie shadows. Amanda stops the wheelchair at the foot of the bed, then walks over to Jigsaw's side, setting a bag of tea on the bedside table. Jigsaw looks up at her, nodding. There's affection in the nod, and appreciation of a job well done. Jigsaw turns to Lynn with a look that could wilt flowers.
Hello, Dr. Denlin. You may not remember me, but I most certainly remember you.
Lynn doesn't make a sound, pure terror in her eyes.
I was a guest at your hospital once.
Amanda drops a file into Lynn's lap, then cuts the bindings on her wrist free. Lynn hesitates, then opens the file. She scans the medical report in front of her, keywords jumping up from it: frontal lobe tumor, metastatic disease, inoperable. Amanda checks her watch, then takes a cup of water and 2 pills, handing them to Jigsaw and positioning the straw in his mouth. He gulps the water down, swallowing the pills. Lynn finally works up the courage to speak.
I've seen you on the television. Lawrence Gordon was your doctor.
Yes. I was his patient and he was mine.
Lynn scans the room around her.
As you can see from the report, my prognosis isn't good. Would you agree?
A long beat. Lynn stares at the report, can't make eye contact with Jigsaw. She seems to be avoiding eye contact with everyone lately. Finally, she speaks.
There's no preventative treatment for what you have.
Jigsaw allows himself a small smile.
I remember you saying that to me once before in that exact same tone. Leave it to a doctor to find such a cold and clinical way of saying that I'm a dead man walking. Looking at me, how long would you say that I have left?
I have to examine you. Even then, a frontal lobe tumor is unpredictable. The growth depends on the rate of mitosis versus the rate of apoptosis, and
I'm sorry, in your day state, is all this crude medical equipment causing you to believe that you're inside a hospital right now?
no.
And why are you speaking to me in that med school jargon? Look at me!
His shout startles Lynn and snatches her attention. Jigsaw holds her terrified gaze, forcing her to see him. In the tense silence that follows, Amanda leaves the room with the empty water cup. Jigsaw watches her leave, leans forward, and speaks confidently to Lynn.
I asked you to look at me and tell me from your experience how long you think I have left. It's a simple question.
A long beat.
Not long.
How long?
A few days, maybe. Maybe less.
Jigsaw absorbs this, looks at all the medical equipment around him, and smiles a wan smile.
Death is a surprise party. Unless, of course, you're already dead on the inside. Unless you're the type of person who swallows antidepressants to hide their pain, turns their back on their husband, and neglects their child.
Jigsaw notices Amanda returning with a cup of water and a mug full of hot tea. She dunks the tea bag standing by Jigsaw's bed.
Who has every possible advantage in life, yet chooses not to advance.
A bolt of shock slivers up Lynn's spine as she hears this.
What do you want from me?
Jigsaw bristles at her interruption, silencing her with a glance.
What do I want? I want to play a game.
Amanda moves over to a bench in the corner. Something sits on top of it, spotlit by a desk lamp. It is a crude collar made up of shotgun shells. A small box is wired to the front of it, with a switch jutting out of it. Jigsaw follows Amanda with his eyes, watching her heft the collar up off the bench.
The rules of the game are simple. Consequences for breaking them are great. Death.
Jigsaw watches as Amanda unlocks the collar, opening it up.
You are being tested. Your will is being tested. Your will to keep someone alive.
Amanda walks the collar over to Lynn, who squirms in the wheelchair.
No!
Jigsaw watches as Amanda snaps the collar into place around Lynn's neck. She then takes a key on the end of a long chain off the bench, slinging it around her neck. It is a bulky, uniquely shaped key, like a pyramid.
Can you do that? Can you follow the rules and grant someone the gift of life?
Amanda flips a switch on the collar and it starts beeping in tandem with Jigsaw's heart rate monitor. Lynn catches her breath, struggling to remain calm.
The device you're wearing is hooked into my heart rate monitor. The second the heart rate flatlines or you move out of range, it will cause an explosion to go off in that collar. Your life and my life will end simultaneously.
Please, don't do this to me. I'm married. I have a child.
Amanda leans down into Lynn's face.
Let me give you the simple version. You'll keep him alive, whatever it takes. No excuses. No equivocations. No crime.
What do you mean, keep him alive?
Amanda looks up at Jigsaw. Jigsaw nods towards the layer beyond the plastic.
Out there on those monitors, we have another test subject. A man.
Amanda spins Lynn around, pulling back the plastic so the monitors on the other side of the adjoining room are visible. Lynn squints at the monitors, but can't quite identify the images.
That man will face a series of tests. You will have to keep John alive until he makes it through. If he completes all the tests and John is still breathing, I will remove the collar and release you.
No. Why? Why me?
You are a vital piece to my puzzle, Dr. Denlin. A critical part of what may be my final test. Amanda, it's time to start our game.
Amanda nods, gives a final look to Lynn, then exits the sick room. Interior Jigsaw's lair. Amanda traipses through the lair, weaving her way around the crude torture devices. Transition into interior wooden crate night. Darkness, and then a sliver of light.
What the fuck?
A shuffling, pounding.
Hello? What is this?
More movement. Small slits of light bring illumination to his face. He has the slightly knavish look of a man who is out of his element in dangerous situations. Definitely not a cop, more like a computer salesman. His name is Jeff, 40s. Masked in shadow, trapped in the confines of the crate, this is truly a claustrophobic's worst nightmare. Suddenly, a loud, eardrum-shattering beep, like an air horn, fills the box. He screams, his hands flying right in front of his face instinctively.
Hello? Can anyone hear me?
He gropes along the walls, his fingers landing on a micro-cassette recorder. A note wrapped around it says, "Play me." He does.
Hello, Jeff. I would guess as you listen to this, you are clawing at the walls, cursing, crying, like a newborn trying to free itself from the womb. This is significant because today is the day of your rebirth.
Jeff stares at the recorder, mystified.
Over the past few years, you have become a shell of your former self, consumed with hatred and vengeance. Vengeance against the drunk driver who killed your only son. Vengeance against the killer who was set free after a hasty trial.
These words hit Jeff like very precise darts.
Today, however, it is you who will be put on trial. To escape the facility in which you are being held, you will have to face a series of tests. You will have to suffer to move forward through each of them. But with each one, you will also be given a chance to forgive. When you complete them all, I promise you, you will finally come face to face with the man responsible for the loss of your child. That will be your ultimate test. Can you forgive him? Better hurry, though. In 2 hours, he will be set free, and I doubt you will ever see him again. This is what you've been waiting for, Jeff. Let the game begin.
The tape runs silent, then stops. Jeff's panic turns to rage. Crazed, he begins violently kicking the end of the box. Interior corridor night. A small wooden crate sits atop a forklift. The crate is raised 5 feet above the ground. It shakes unsteadily, teetering on the edge of the forklift. Jeff's panicked cries echo down the narrow corridor. Wham! Wham! Crack! A foot appears at one end of the wooden box as it crashes through the side. Wham! 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 With each kick, the box inches closer and closer to the edge of the forklift. Wham! 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 And at last, crash. The crate topples to the ground, the wood breaking apart and splintering. From its debris, a limp body is exposed. Jeff. For a moment, his eyes flutter open. Darkness surrounds him. A narrow corridor leading off into the abyss offers the only hint of light. Seconds pass, then Jeff's eyes flutter closed. He is out. Smash cut to interior child's bedroom, Jeff's house day. Flashback, close on Jeff. So close we cannot tell where he is yet. He stares at someone off screen, hatred seething in his eyes. He raises a gun, pointing it at whoever he's staring at. He looks a man possessed, a ball of fury.
You're a dead man. You know that? In a few moments, you will no longer be alive.
He cocks the gun, determination in his eyes.
You killed my son. Now I'm going to kill you.
Wider now, we see that Jeff is standing in your average suburban child's bedroom with just one minor difference. This one is spotless, as if no child had ever lived in it. It looks like a museum. An immaculately made bed, painted up to look like a racing car, sits in the corner. Its crisp sheets pulled taut. Jeff is alone in the bedroom. We see that he was pointing the gun at his own reflection in a mirror. He lowers the gun, suddenly deflating, his rage transforming into hopelessness. He shuffles over to a desk lined with toys. He takes the seat at the desk. A newspaper article sits in front of him. The headline says, "Drunk driver kills young boy." Jeff looks up at the wall in front of him. It is adorned with dozens of framed photos of a smiling, happy young boy, a shrine. Jeff's gaze drifts down to the desk. He suddenly tilts his head at something. Something is missing on the desk, a clear space where one of the toys should be. Jeff stashes the gun in one of the drawers and storms out of the room. Interior hallway, Jeff's house today. Jeff marches down the hall. He passes the living room. We see that the rest of the house is not so well kept, to put it mildly. The place is a dump. Jeff reaches another door at the end of the hall, shoving it open and charging into interior Corbett's bedroom, Jeff's house today. Another child's bedroom. Unlike the other bedroom, this one is more in line with the rest of the house. Toys everywhere, crayons, dolls. Jeff flicks on the light, startling a young girl who is lying in bed. This is Jeff's daughter, Corbett, 10. Jeff begins tossing the place, searching high and low.
Where is it?
He throws drawings aside, swipes stuffed toys out of the path. Corbett is sitting up now. She looks scared.
What's wrong, Daddy?
Jeff spots a plastic pig laying next to her in the bed. He snatches it up.
How many times have I told you about Dylan's room, Corbett? How many times do I have to tell you before you get the message?
Corbett starts to cry.
I
No,
wanted to see
Corbett,
this.
you just nothing. Don't touch anything in his room. I've told you that.
He storms out, pig in hand. Interior child's bedroom, Jeff's house day. Jeff enters the immaculate bedroom once more, padding softly across the desk, treading with reverence. He wipes the toy pig with his sleeve, then places it gently back in its place on the desk. He lowers himself onto the crisp, clean bed. He opens the desk drawer and takes out the gun, staring at it. He raises the gun to his head, then lowers it slowly.
God help me.
His head sinks into his hands. He begins sobbing. Corbett appears at the door.
I'm sorry.
Jeff whips his head up, tears in his eyes. He discreetly hides the gun behind him in the bed.
No, I'm the one who should be sorry.
He looks into her eyes.
Come here, baby.
He approaches slowly, wary. He gets on his knees, embracing her like she's his last chance.
It's okay, Daddy.
I love you so much. You're all I've got left.
He pulls back from the hug, looking into her eyes, manages a smile.
Look at me. What would your mom say if she saw me like this?
You'll never know. She's not here.
Jeff nods and smiles.
Go back to bed. Get some sleep for the both of us, huh?
Corbett returns his smile and leaves the room. Jeff stands up from the bed and approaches Dylan's desk once more. He repositions the pig again, making sure it's perfect. Something catches his eye. On the floor, a picture of Jeff and Dylan. He stares at the photo, void of expression, bends down and picks it up, revealing the cloaked figure of Amanda standing behind him. He sees her reflection in a wall-mounted mirror, whirling around. Interior corridor night present, tight on Jeff's face. His eyes pop open. He jumps to his feet. A small trickle of blood runs down his forehead. A long, empty corridor stretches out in front of him. A small wooden box has been placed against the wall. Cautious, Jeff walks over to it. He leans down, unsure. Jeff is written on it. He picks it up, warily opening it. The box is lined with red velvet. Inside is a key. A note attached to the key says, "Open the door, Jeff." Underneath the key is a small section torn from a photograph. Jeff holds it up to the light. The person in the photograph is him. Jeff looks around, suddenly aware he's being watched, and then he sees it. A camera is attached to the corner of the ceiling. Jeff spins around, nothing behind him other than the massive forklift. Only one way to go, forward. Interior corridor night continuous. A long dark corridor of steel. He scans the empty corridor, then steps out. He puts the key in his pocket. He takes a step forward. A set of stairs leads downwards. He descends them slowly. Interior lower level meat packing facility night. He reaches the bottom of the stairs, seeing another camera above him. We pull back through the lens, finding ourselves in Jigsaw's lair, monitor room, same. Amanda watches Jeff on the monitor. She hears murmuring behind her, swiveling around in her seat and seeing the muddy form of Lynn through the plastic, leaning over Jigsaw and examining him. Interior Jigsaw's lair night. Amanda gets up and moves slowly over to the plastic. She peeks through a slit in the plastic, watching Lynn as she applies pressure to Jigsaw's skull. He grunts in pain. Lynn points a flashlight into his eyes. Interior of the sick room, Jigsaw's lair night. The plastic parts and Amanda enters, startling Lynn.
Begun. He's out of the box.
Lynn eases Jigsaw's head back onto his pillow and steps back, frightened.
So?
My 20-second analysis without any medical equipment is that his brain is herniating.
Okay.
He needs to go to a hospital and have an operation to decompress his brain.
We're not going to a hospital. Understand that.
I can't perform miracles. I need the proper tools. You're giving him morphine. For a tumor like this, he needs steroids. Prednisone.
Amanda grabs a thick, dog-eared medical journal off the table. She thrusts it into Lynn's face.
We could also try corticosteroids, like something. Tell me something I don't know.
Lynn is taken aback.
The only place he can get those things is in a hospital. Otherwise, he's going to die.
If he dies, you die.
You're asking me to do the impossible.
Leaning over Jigsaw, Amanda's close enough to whisper.
I'm not asking you. He is. John chose you, not me.
Amanda! How can our doctor perform what's being asked of her when she's being threatened? The rules of our game have been made very clear.
Amanda has suddenly become a little girl, staring at the floor as she is admonished.
We play by the rules.
Suddenly, Jigsaw is gripped by a seizure, violent spasms rocking his entire body. His back arches as his muscles tighten, spittle flying from his mouth. The heart rate monitor gets faster. Beep, 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 beep. As this happens, the pulsing beep on Lynn's collar gets faster in unison. Amanda's eyes open wide in fear, her menacing demeanor now shed to panic.
Do something.
Lynn races over to his bed, turning Jigsaw onto his side. He vomits explosively.
Clear an airway.
Tears stream down Amanda's face as she watches Jigsaw convulse. She stares frozen, unsure what to do.
Clear an airway.
Amanda is frozen.
Clean the vomit out of his mouth.
Amanda rushes over, wiping the chunks of bile away with a rag. Lynn waits, eyes glued to the heart rate monitor. Sweat pours down her face as she waits for him to flatline. Beep, 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 beep. And then Jigsaw's body slowly relaxes. Beep, beep, beep. Lynn approaches Amanda.
Was that enough for you? Are you ready to go to the hospital now?
No response.
He needs an operation.
Fine.
A moment of hope. Amanda turns to Lynn.
But we do it here. What tools do you need?
What?
What tools do you need for the operation?
Lynn is desperate.
You need an anesthetic for these procedures.
Anesthetic? What else?
Lynn shakes her head, terror in her eyes.
Even with an anesthetic, I wouldn't have the right monitors. One slip and I hit his vein of leave, he's dead.
Amanda approaches. She's serious.
Anesthetic. What else?
Lynn looks up at Amanda. Can't believe what she's saying.
A power drill.
Smash cut to interior meatpacking facility night, tight on a heavy iron door. Jeff reaches out and opens it. Interior, the freezer, night. He shivers as soon as he does, a gust of cold air escaping from the pitch black room beyond. Opening the door has triggered something to life. The noise of grinding gears fills the chilling chamber. Jeff listens hard. There's another sound, bleeding through the sound of the machines. It's breathing. Someone else is in here. Suddenly, light tubes surge to life, casting the room in a cold blue pallor. A blanket of blue haze fills the room. What Jeff sees literally makes him gasp. He's standing inside a large abandoned meat locker. Meat hooks hang in rows along the ceiling, gleaming like steel teeth. A series of floor-to-ceiling pipes run the length of one wall, about 5 inches apart, so cold that they smoke. In the center of the room is a woman, stripped completely naked, her arms outstretched, tied off to 2 poles, her feet chained to a large U-shaped clamp bolted to the floor. She's obviously been in this freezer for a while. Her lips are blue and her body trembles in the cold. Her extremities show the signs of frostbite. Her body hangs motionless. Her head lays limp. Her frosted hair hangs in front of her face. On either side of the woman is the source of the mechanical racket. 2 large iron contraptions with several hose nozzles jutting out of them, aimed directly at her. Jeff slowly approaches the body, unsure. With each step closer, his body shakes more, his teeth chattering. Suddenly, the naked woman comes to life. Her head whips up, wide in extreme terror as Jeff approaches. Her name is Danica, 30s.
Oh my God.
Please let me go.
Jeff can do nothing but stare at her in shock.
Why are you doing this to me?
Jeff is lost for words. Danica's entire body shakes uncontrollably. A tear falls from her eye and immediately crystallizes.
Please don't kill
Well, I'm
me.
not going to kill you.
But why did you put me here?
I didn't.
Jeff examines the locks holding her in place, wrenching at them, trying to free her.
Please.
I said I didn't fucking do this to you.
Danica flinches as Jeff screams at her, turning her face, expecting the worst.
I just woke up in this place, just like you. I'm
Oh.
trying.
Jeff spots a micro cassette recorder laying against a wall. He snatches it up, pressing play on the tape.
Welcome to your first test, Jeff. For the past 3 years, you have cursed the name of all those you have felt were responsible for the death of your son. You have fantasized about the moment where justice will prevail and those accountable will pay. Today I give you the gift you have so anxiously sought. You will find the woman standing in front of you is chained in place. This will prevent her from running, much like she did on the day your son was hit.
Jeff stares at her, trembling in the sub-zero temperature.
Her name is Danica Scott. She was the only witness present at the scene of your son's untimely demise. If not for her own self-absorption and cowardice, she could have brought your son's killer to justice.
Emotions electrify Jeff as he listens to Jigsaw's words.
Now it is you who will have a chance to bring her to justice. You alone can grant her the gift of life before she freezes to death. The key that will free her and free you from this room is located behind the pipes you can see along the left wall. Will you claim the key and save only yourself? Or can you find it within you to save another? She doesn't have much time, Jeff. Does she live or die? Make her choice.
Jeff stares at her and we close in on his eyes. Flash cut to exterior roadside day flashback. Quick still images. Jeff follows Dylan pedaling across a road on a bicycle. A car barreling down the street. Tight on Jeff's face as he screams. Dylan's body splayed out beneath the bicycle, which is now upside down. Jeff kneeling at his side. Flash cut to Danica driving by looking at Jeff. Jeff looking hopelessly down at the bloody Dylan. Flash cut to interior the freezer, night, present. Whoosh, the water jets on either side of Danica roar to life, pummeling her body with freezing water. She screams, taking in mouthfuls of the water as she thrashes her head from side to side, drowning in the intense spray. After a minute, the water ceases. Danica's body is shivering violently.
Why couldn't you? You just drove by. You didn't even stop.
Danica loses it. She wrenches on the clamps that hold her arms in place.
I didn't do anything. I didn't do anything to you.
That one hits a raw nerve with Jeff. He explodes.
That's exactly it. You didn't do anything.
I'm fucking dying.
He died in my arms. My 8-year-old son died in my arms, and you did nothing. You just drove by.
Danica's head drops. She momentarily loses consciousness, then comes to. For the first time, her eyes lock with Jeff's.
Please.
Jeff stands there frozen, numb. There's rage in his eyes. Silence. And then the water jets explode to life once more, soaking Danica with Brutal force. The water deflects onto Jeff, but he doesn't react. He doesn't even seem to notice. He is in his own world.
Didn't even stop.
Danica can hardly form words. She is so cold.
I made a mistake. I'm sorry. I'm human, just like your son was.
Jeff stands in front of Danica, conflicted. Danica manages to raise her head and look at him. A plea from the gut, her last drop of strength.
Letting me die won't bring him back.
The water starts up again. His chest heaving, his breath forming clouds in the air, Jeff looks down at her helpless. He races over to the pipes. About 3 feet beyond them, stuck to a magnet on the wall, is a key. He gets as close as he can to the pipes without touching them, stretching his arm through. His grasp is about a foot short of the key. He retracts his arm, which is soaked in water from the jets. The skin of his upper biceps touch the pipe and instantly freezes against it. He pulls on his arm as hard as he can, but his arm is stuck fast. The water jets hiss to life again, drowning the room in noise as they batter Danica's body. With a deep breath, Jeff wrenches his arm away. Rip, a layer of skin is still melted to the pipe. Blood gushes from the wound as Jeff screams in pain. The water jets stop, and when they do, Jeff sees that Danica's head is flopped forward onto her chest.
Shit.
He wraps his t-shirt around his arm, sticking his arm between the pipes again. Still, he cannot reach the key. As fast as he can, he throws his t-shirt back on and rams his whole body between the pipes, his face hitting the freezing steel. His hand wraps around the key, then he slowly, agonizingly pulls his face off the pole. The skin on his face stretches like a tongue on the freezer door. With a scream, he forces himself backwards, ripping a layer of skin off his cheek. Bleeding, he hobbles over to Danica. The water spray intensifies, Jeff holding his breath under the intense pressure of the hoses. The locks on Danica's arms have been completely frozen over. He struggles to shatter the ice, but it has hardened to the point of impenetrability. Danica is dead. Jeff sinks to his knees, screaming in frustration, a primal cry from deep within his gut. The hose machines stutter to a halt, and suddenly the room is silent. Jeff stares at Danica's body encased in the ice. The reality and horror of his failure to save her hits him hard. This is real. He stares at her until he can no longer stand it, looking down at the key, then up at the door in front of him. Shivering, he gets up and slots the key into the lock on the door, turns it. Click. Interior corridor, outside freezer, night continuous. Jeff cautiously exits the freezer, a broken man. His body still shaking from the ice now forming on his clothes. He falls against the wall, a shell of the person he was prior. And then, out of the corner of his eyes, he sees something sitting against the door to the freezer. It is a rectangular box, identical to the one Jeff found earlier. Carefully, he scoops down and picks it up. He opens it, revealing a single bullet and a note. The note says, "One bullet will end it all." There is something taped to the back of the note. Jeff flips the note over. His expression changes as he sees a torn picture displaying an image of Dylan, his son. We pull back from him into Jigsaw's lair, night, a power drill. It screeches to life as Len depresses the trigger, testing it. She places it on a rusted surgical tray next to a scalpel, a pair of hair clippers, and a rag. She looks down at her makeshift surgical instruments in disbelief. Amanda watches her from afar, then checks her watch and walks into the sick room. Interior of the sick room, Jigsaw's lair, night. Jigsaw looks up as Amanda enters. She walks over to his bed and applies a cold compress to his forehead.
She's gonna operate, relieve this pressure on your brain. It'll help you with the headaches and maybe give you some more time.
How's she doing?
You chose her because she was the best.
That's one reason I chose her. Thank you.
For what?
For your strength.
Oh no, everybody's frozen.
For what?
For your strength. For being my voice.
I can't do this.
Amanda.
I can't do this.
Forget about me. Let the dead lay with the dead. Don't look back. Not even for a second. They'll crush you. Now there are some things I need you to do. Do you have a pencil?
Amanda reaches into the bedside table, taking out a pencil and pad. Jigsaw taps a single key on a laptop sitting next to him. Interior Jigsaw's lair night. Lynn scours a cluttered bench in front of her, littered with various tools. Among the mess is the jaw trap, strapped to a plaster head. She reaches out and touches it, running her fingers over its spiked edges. She touches a cog welded to the side of the device. All is quiet, then boom, the device explodes open, obliterating the plaster head and toppling to the floor, causing Lynn to leap backwards and crash into Amanda. Lynn recoils. Amanda merely stares at the jaw trap, now in 2 pieces.
Are you ready?
No, damn it, I'm not ready.
Do you have everything you need?
I have the tools to cut someone open. I don't have the tools to save a life.
You'd be surprised what tools can save a life.
Amanda picks up the jaw trap and places it carefully back onto the table. Dissolve to interior Jigsaw's old lair, night. Flashback later. A paintbrush strokes the face of a harlequin puppet. Jigsaw dabs at it with the brush as if it were a masterpiece. Satisfied, he picks up the head and presses a trigger. The jaw moves up and down. He screws the head onto the puppet's body, then carries it over to a workbench. A camera is set up on a tripod facing the bench. He presses record on the camera, then depresses the trigger. The dummy's jaw moves up and down. As it moves, Jigsaw speaks, his voice distorted by a voice box.
Hello, Amanda. You don't know me, but I know you. I want to play a game.
We move away from the dummy, finding a black and white photo tacked to the board. The photo is of Amanda. Interior dark chamber night. Flashback. We dissolve into Amanda's face. It is a different face than the one we know now. It seems somehow younger, more innocent. Jigsaw is hoisting her limp, unconscious body into a chair. He begins tying her arms to the chair, then binds her feet along with it. He stoops down and picks up the jaw trap, now finished masterpiece. He gently fits it onto her face. Interior dark chamber night flashback later. Another body is hauled into the room. That of a dazed man. Jigsaw lets go of him and bends down, lifting his shirt and painting a question mark across the stomach. Interior dark chamber night flashback later. A rapid montage of images from Saw whirls before our eyes. Amanda trying to wrench the jaw trap from her face, raising the scalpel. Amanda cutting into the stomach of her hapless victim. The jaw trap coming off as Amanda unlocks it, Amanda screaming. Cut to interior industrial waterfront pier area day flashback. Soaked in blood and dazed, Amanda staggers out of a warehouse, squinting in the sudden light. She lets out an anguished cry of terror, which bleeds into interior police station day, flashback to Saw 1, a police siren. Amanda is once again seated in front of Detective Tapp.
Help me.
Interior hotel room night, flashback. Once a grand place, this hotel now rots in despair, home to only vermin, both human and animal. The door opens and Amanda enters the darkened room, looking like a little girl lost. She closes the door behind her and shuffles slowly over to the bed, actually just a filthy mattress in the corner. She slumps down onto it, staring into space. Finally, she reaches up and flicks a light switch, throwing what feeble illumination the dying globe has left to provide across the room, but just enough to see what she can't. Over her shoulder, we can see a tall figure standing in the doorway facing her. Oblivious, Amanda's head sinks into her hands. Behind her, we see the figure walking softly towards her. As he approaches, Amanda seems to sense him. She lifts her face from her hands, her eyes wide with terror. She turns her head, seeing Jigsaw standing at the foot of her bed. She doesn't move, either too terrified or too weak to run. Jigsaw reaches out with a frail hand, placing it on her shoulder. The touch is tender rather than threatening. He stares at her with sympathy, as if she were a stray dog he was taking in.
Don't be afraid. Your life has just begun. I'm going to teach you, give you my legacy. We are going to change lives forever.
Interior Jigsaw's lair night, present. Amanda stares at the jaw trap.
Amanda?
Lynn takes her chance, steps closer.
You're so young, beautiful. You have your whole life ahead of you. I don't understand. I look at you and I see someone who doesn't want to hurt people. I see that you want to help.
Amanda says nothing. Is Lynn getting through?
If you really care about John, you won't let me use this on him. You have to choose what's best for him. He'll listen to you. He trusts you. I see the way he looks at you.
Amanda stares into Lynn's eyes. For a long, silent beat, we think Lynn has gotten through to her. Amanda steps closer, soft menace in her voice. She takes the saw out of Lynn's hand.
Are we done connecting?
Lynn is taken aback.
Amanda, wait.
Amanda turns from Lynn, walking back into the sick room.
You saved my life, and now you're going to extend his.
Interior corridor meatpacking facility night present. Jeff struggles down the corridor, blood staining his face and shirt, forging ahead, forcing himself to move forward into the blackened bowels of this slaughterhouse. A sound spirits down the corridor towards him. He freezes, listening. It is the distinct whine of oil-starved hinges. Jeff limps towards it, keeping close to the wall. A shadow begins to form up ahead of him, an object strewn across the floor. Jeff slows, cautious. As he gets closer, the shadow sharpens and reveals itself. It is a tricycle. It is lying upside down, a small body lying face down underneath it. Its wheels spin, the rusted joints groaning as they do. The tricycle is the same one Jeff's son was riding when he was hit. Jeff hovers over it, his breath quivering with fear. He sees the white scalp of the body trapped below the trike, black stringy hair falling out of it. He reaches down slowly pushing the tricycle aside. He turns the body over and gasps. It is a grotesque doll of some kind, clad in a black suit and a bright red bow tie. Its eyes are closed, its mouth hanging open. Jeff carefully scoops up the doll, holding it out in front of him. For a long, agonizing beat, all is deathly silent until the doll's eyes snap open and it begins cackling like a demon, its arms and legs kicking out like wind-up soldier. Jeff drops the doll, his heart in his throat. He backs away from it, hitting something. He whips around. It's a door. Jeff hears screaming. It's coming from behind the door. He grips the handle, unwilling to turn it, and then he does. Interior, the killing floor night. Jeff is standing in the main room of the meatpacking plant. He gags, covering his face with his shirt. It obviously smells bad in here. Jeff hobbles forward, eyes darting left and right. In the center of the room is a red velvet cloak draped over a large object. Jeff approaches it warily. He reaches out towards it, slowly gripping the flat fabric, then ripping it away and revealing a tall steel carcass incinerator. Inside the incinerator, a metal pole stretches from the floor to the ceiling, hooks protruding from it every few inches. It's what's on those hooks that startles Jeff the most. Toys, photos, books, clothes, everything we saw from Jeff's son's room has been collected and strung up. Jeff crumbles as he realizes his son's entire life is literally hanging in the balance. He spots a recorder, dutifully laid out at the base of the incinerator. He scoops it up and presses play.
Welcome, Jeff. When the judge presiding over your case sentenced your boy's murderer so lightly, your soul never recovered. Now you have the power to sentence his soul straight to hell.
Jeff listens to the tape, shock coursing through him.
Or you can forgive. The key that will free him is hidden inside your son's possessions. Possessions you have clung to for far too long now. If you flip the switch in front of you, a fire will cleanse you of this obsession and destroy them all, leaving only the key remaining. He doesn't have much time. Will you let go to set him free? Let the game begin.
Suddenly, the screech of machinery starting up fills the room. Jeff leaps out of his skin, seeing a conveyor belt high above him stutter to life. Dangling from the conveyor belt are a row of meat hooks, each one piercing the hide of a long dead pig. The pigs are rotted from disease and age, maggots feasting on their innards like vampires. The pig carcasses are swept along the conveyor belt towards a large meat grinder. The blades of the grinder churn ruthlessly.
Help! Help me!
Jeff races to a set of stairs, scampering up onto a catwalk to get a view of the entire room, and that's when he sees it. A man is lying on his back, strapped to the floor of a large, empty, circular vat, locked in place by a single clamp that encircles his neck. The man's name is Halden, 50s. The vat he is laying in is positioned directly below the meat grinder. Halden worms around trying to pull himself up. He isn't going anywhere.
Help me!
One of the meat hooks drops a pig carcass into the grinder. The blades scream, liquefying the pig's corpse instantly and spraying its innards all over Judge Halden, literally drowning him in a disgusting soup of rotten meat and bone fragments. And then there's the maggots, millions of them. They swarm in this liquid larvae, mixing with other insects.
For Christ's sake, why are you doing this?
The grinder quietens down, rumbling, waiting for its next carcass. Jeff glares down at Halden.
You don't remember me, do you?
No, I'm sorry, I don't remember you.
Maybe you remember Timothy Young? He was the oh, so sorry. Spaced out, my bad.
Maybe you remember Timothy Young. He was the driver who killed my son. You sentenced him to 6 months.
Halden's face turns, panic floods his body.
Okay, yes, I remember you. We can talk about your case. I know you want answers, but I can't give them to you like this.
6 months. People get more for fucking parking tickets.
Another rotten pig carcass drops into the grinder, dumping a waterfall of larvae-infested slop down onto the judge. The vat is slowly filling with the innards, drowning the judge in filth.
For God's sake, listen to me. I realize the pain you're in, but there are ways to have his sentence extended. I can help you.
It's too late. He's already out.
Then don't become what he is. Don't become a killer.
He looks right into Jeff's eyes, the last plea desperate.
Please. I have a son too.
That gets through. Jeff releases a primal cry of anguish from deep within his gut. Hard to know if he's angry at himself or the judge, maybe both. Jeff looks over at the incinerator. He races down the catwalk and heads for it.
Where are you going? No, you can't do this to me!
Another carcass drops into the grinder. The blades scream as they puree the pig and drench the judge in the resulting goo. Jeff stands rooted to the spot, eyes locked on his son's belonging, everything he has clung to for so many years. His eyes fall on the switch to the incinerator. He knows what he must do. The grinder devours yet another pig carcass, and Halden's screams of terror echo throughout the chamber. Devastated, Jeff stares at the pig he had taken from his daughter, peering out from amongst his son's things. He flips the switch, igniting a blaze which engulfs it all, instantly melting it. The photos, stacks of newspaper articles, all of it goes up in smoke. We see Jeff's face as he lets go of everything he is obsessed on for so long. It all burns away. Meanwhile, in the vat, Judge Halden disappears in the filth. As everything is scorched in the incinerator, ashes begin to rain down onto the bottom tray, and then clink. A gleaming key hits the floor. Jeff flips the switch again and the flames retract. Shielding his face, he steps inside the oven and snatches up the red-hot key. It sears his flesh as he races back to the vat. He scales a ladder mounted on its side, peering down into it. It is nothing less than a swamp of rotting flesh. He closes his eyes, says a silent prayer, and dives in. Spoosh. His whole body disappears into the soup. He resurfaces, gagging, maggots and worms crawling through his hair, now slick with goo. He wades through the filth, sweeping his arms across and shoveling handfuls of the maggots away. He takes a breath and ducks his head under, stretching out his arms and clawing for the judge. He resurfaces, vomiting. Maggots infest his clothes and hair. His hands find the clamp that holds the judge in place. He slots the key inside, struggling to unlock it. More guts rain down on him from above as he finally unlocks it, hauling Halden's unconscious body above the surface. He rushes Halden to the ladder at the end of the vat, hurling him up, struggling with his weight. He finally gets him over the edge, lowering him to the ground. He checks Halden's pulse, listens for breathing. He leans in, pinching his mouth and giving him CPR.
Come on.
He tries mouth to mouth once more until Halden finally explodes away, vomiting maggots and pig slops into Jeff's face. Jeff leaps back as Halden sputters and gags, coming to. He's alive. Interior, the sick room, Jigsaw's lair, night. Beep, beep, beep. The operation is about to begin. Lynn has positioned a desk lamp over Jigsaw's gurney. She raises a needle into the light and flicks the end of it. The rusted steel tray is beside her with all the surgical tools spread across it. Jigsaw raises his head weakly when Amanda enters.
How is he proceeding?
He's made it through the second test. The judge is alive.
Lynn looks up, hopeful.
He's moving faster than I expected.
Amanda stands behind Lynn.
Put your head back.
Jigsaw eases his head back onto the pillow, wincing from even that slight touch.
Your brain is pushing against your skull, John. I'm going to try to take the pressure off, which means I have to cut out a small section of your skull. Do you understand?
All too well.
Lynn pushes the needle into Jigsaw's scalp, depressing the plunger and filling his head with a local anesthetic. She then picks up the hair clippers, shaving a large section of Jigsaw's hair away.
Scalpel?
Amanda doesn't respond. Lynn turns around, expectant. Amanda hands her the scalpel like a nurse.
You're not going to give him a general anesthetic?
For this type of procedure, the patient needs to be fully alert.
Lynn positions the scalpel. Her hand is shaking. She pulls it away, calming herself. Beads of sweat pour down her forehead. She watches the heart rate monitor. Beep, beep, beep. Moments pass in uncomfortable silence. Lynn presses the scalpel against his bare scalp. She takes a deep breath and makes the first incision, cutting a square of flesh away. She peels away the skin, exposing the skull. Amanda's chest heaves. Beep, beep, beep. Lynn picks up the power drill, aims it at one corner of the exposed skull. She depresses the trigger on the drill. It screams to life. She steadies the drill bit, then drills into his skull, pushing it far enough that it penetrates the bone without hitting brain. Beep, beep, beep. She retracts the drill, positioning it at another corner of the crude square she has fashioned. The drill bit hits bone again, and she applies pressure to it, making another hole in his skull. She takes a rag and clears away the blood and fluid leaking out of him.
How are you doing, John?
Never better.
Amanda can barely watch. For someone who has seen this much blood, every drop makes her squeamish. Beep, beep, beep. She drills 2 more holes at either end of the square, then puts the drill down. She glances over at Amanda. Her gaze is fixed on Jigsaw. Without taking her eyes off Amanda, she removes the drill bit from the end of the power drill and pushes it into her sleeve, hiding it. She takes the scalpel along with it, then picks up a pneumatic saw. Beep, beep, beep. She switches the pneumatic saw on, its blade kicking to life, its teeth oscillating furiously. She glances up at Amanda slyly. For the first time, Amanda appears frightened. Lynn's grip tightens on the saw. She stares at Amanda, sweating bullets. Beep, beep, beep. She glances back at Jigsaw, making split-second decisions in her mind. Finally, she lowers the saw onto Jigsaw's skull. Its teeth hit bone, screeching like nails on a blackboard. She plays connect the dots with it, joining the drill holes. Blood sprays across her coat. Some gets in her eyes. She stops sawing and wipes it away, blood and sweat. Beep, beep. She continues cutting, finishes the job. A square chunk of Jigsaw's skull falls away, exposing his brain. We see his brain expand through the hole slightly, like a souffle made of gizzards. Lynn switches off the saw and whips around to the heart monitor. Total silence, an agonizing beat. Beep, beep, beep. Lynn lets out a huge breath, dropping the pneumatic saw.
He's stabilized. His brain was swelling, and unless it had room to expand, he would have died.
Jigsaw lies still, his eyes fixed on the ceiling.
Raise your hand and flex your fingers.
Jigsaw does not respond.
Raise your hand.
Tight on Jigsaw's eyes, they are locked on the bright core of the desk lamp above him. Flash cut to exterior park day. Flashback. A woman steps into frame. Her name is Jill, 30s. She is standing in a field, the sun shining down on her. She looks happy. Interior, the sick room, Jigsaw's layer present. Jigsaw's heart rate monitor increases in speed. Beep, beep, beep.
What's happening?
Tight on Jigsaw's eyes once more. He jolts, reacting to something.
John, raise your hand.
Flash cut to exterior park day flashback. Jill giggles. Loud laughter off screen. A man joins her in frame. It is Jigsaw, or rather John. He looks healthy, happy, a different person from a different life. He aims a video camera at Jill. She grins into the lens.
Well, it's a beautiful day, but instead of enjoying it, John is going to videotape it and then we'll watch it later.
John laughs. Flash cut to interior, the sick room, Jigsaw's lair present. Panic stations. Lynn races to give Jigsaw oxygen from a mouthpiece. The heart rate monitor begins pulsing rapidly. Beep, 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 beep.
What can I do?
Flash cut to exterior park day flashback. John nuzzles up to Jill amorously, lowering the video camera.
Maybe we can enjoy ourselves now and watch it later, if you know what I mean.
Ooh, sounds promising.
John laughs. Flash cut to interior sick room, Jigsaw's lair present. Lynn cradles Jigsaw's head, sweat pouring off her. She presses the oxygen mask against his face, desperate.
Breathe, damn it, breathe.
The heart rate monitor is now going so fast that one pulse is indistinguishable from the other. Amanda paces back and forth, anger and fear building inside her. Flash cut to the park. John and Jill lays on a picnic blanket. John feeds her a piece of cake playfully. She laughs as he gets cream on her face.
I love you, John Kramer.
I love you, Jill Tuck.
They kiss. Flash cut to the sick room. The kiss in his memory electrifies Jigsaw. He jolts, sucking in a huge breath. He's back.
That's right. Keep breathing.
Beep, beep, beep. The heart rate monitor stabilizes. Jigsaw blinks and sits up, his mind still lost in the dream. He raises his hand, clasping it around Lynn's and pulling her in close to him.
Love you. I love you.
Amanda watches this exchange distraught. Jigsaw's grip slowly relaxes and he comes back onto the gurney. His eyes close. Lynn backs away, slumping back into the chair, exhausted by the tension. She watches the heart rate monitor. All is silent in the room. Amanda approaches the gurney, standing over Jigsaw. We see tears in her eyes. She leans down and whispers something to Jigsaw. We do not hear it.
He can't hear you. He doesn't even know you're there.
Amanda spins around to face Lynn. Her face is now a mask of pure hatred. She rushes towards Lynn, smacking her across the face. Lynn flies backwards onto the floor. Amanda snatches up a gun and holds it to Lynn's head. Lynn flinches. She cocks the gun.
Put it down.
Amanda whips around to see Jigsaw staring at her. Amanda doesn't respond, her chest heaving.
Trust me, Amanda. Put it down.
Amanda breaks eye contact, her eyes fixed on the floor. Her gaze shifts to Lynn, seething with hatred.
Leave us.
Amanda stays where she is.
Now.
Amanda does.
I apologize on her behalf.
He stares through the plastic at the figure of Amanda, seems melancholy, almost disappointed. His voice is barely a whisper, a gravel-throated rasp that gets weaker with every word. Lynn doesn't respond. She is soaked in sweat and spattered with blood, the heavy collar cutting into her neck.
In the end, she will be the closest I've ever come to a connection. To feeling seen. Understood.
He turns to face her. There is no response. Lynn finally looks at him. Jigsaw smiles.
Tell me about your husband.
Lynn says nothing.
I've always been fascinated by matrimony. Husbands barely able to look at their wives. Wives on their backs in motel rooms with perfect strangers. Husbands who bear children only to neglect them. Till death do us part indeed.
No response.
Don't you think it wise to keep me talking, Doctor? For your sake.
No response.
He's a good man.
She pauses and then looks away ashamed.
But something has changed between us. We're strangers now. The last time I saw him, we were so detached. But right now, I would give anything in the world to see him. To see my child.
Oh, yes. Your child. But we can't bring back the dead, can we?
What did you say?
Jigsaw turns to her, malice flashing in his eyes. The monster inside him has surfaced.
Death brings clarity. Only when you lose someone do you realize this. But you know that all too well, don't you, Doctor? The reason why your marriage is in tatters.
Lynn is visibly angry now.
I don't know what you think you know, but my marriage has suffered more suffering than someone like you could ever grasp.
Jigsaw turns to her, malice flashing in his eyes. The monster inside has surfaced.
I wouldn't compare your suffering to mine.
Each word of what he says next hits Lynn like a razor cut.
I know more about you than you do. I know you went to Harvard. I know you graduated magna cum laude. I know you were once a brilliant surgeon. I know you can barely face the day anymore. I know your husband is a murderer.
My husband's not a murderer.
The test subject of this game will decide that.
Jigsaw looks away at the form of Amanda through the plastic.
If you make it through this, Lynn, you will thank me one day. Just as Amanda did.
Interior Jigsaw's old lair night flashback. Amanda stands before Jigsaw, who circles her like a shark. Jigsaw points at darkened corridors stretching out in front of her.
Once you go down that corridor, there is no coming back. You know this, don't you?
Yes.
You will give everything to me. Every cell in your body.
Yes.
He grips her arms, holding them up. They are dotted with fading track marks.
These marks are from another life. Soon you won't even remember it.
Jigsaw steps up behind her, almost kissing her neck, breathing on her. She closes her eyes.
For the first time in your life, you're going to be strong. It's already in you. It just needs to be exposed.
He hands her a black and white photo. We do not see it.
I promise I will expose it with you.
Amanda takes the photo and walks into the corridor. The darkness swallows her up. Interior stairwell, apartment building night, flashback. Not exactly high rent. Amanda is standing in the entranceway of the dilapidated apartment building. She looks nervous. We hear footsteps approaching, and Amanda begins walking up the stairs, brushing past someone. Very rock star. Amanda stops in her tracks, turning around. Was he talking to her? The person she brushed past is a young male. A camera is slung over his shoulder. His name is Adam. We've met him before. He opens his mailbox, sorting through junk mail. Yeah, I was talking to you. Your hair. It's very rock star. I like it. Amanda fidgets, awkward. It's clear she has never had to deal with too many compliments before. Speaking of rock stars, I've been instructed to give these out. He takes a flyer out of his pocket. Sorry, it's my buddy's band. They're playing a show tonight. It's only $5. They don't completely suck as far as buddy bands go, you know? He approaches her and holds out the flyer. Amanda takes it. You live here? Amanda shakes her head. A long beat follows. Okay, well, see you later. He turns away and then turns back. You know what? I'm not going to see you later, am I? Do you mind if I take your picture? Now Amanda is really nervous. Adam peers into the lens of his camera, focusing, then clicks off a shot. He lowers the camera. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Another long beat ensues. Okay, 3 more seconds and it's officially an awkward silence. I better go. He turns to exit just as 2 older Russian women enter the building. How about you guys? Want to come see my buddy's band tonight? No? They ignore him, barreling past and heading up the stairs. They'll be there, trust me. And then it happens. Amanda laughs. Adam smiles. He's gotten through. Bye.
Bye.
He exits. Interior closet night. Flashback. Nervous breathing over darkness. A horizontal strip of light breaks through the darkness for a split second, accompanied by the sound of a camera going off. The breathing intensifies, a sound over the blackness, like someone shifting. Who is that? Who's in here? Come out. I'll kill you, you motherfucker. Unlike the breathing, the voice is distant. The groan of a door being opened. The breathing stops. Total silence. The flash goes off again, illuminating the face of Adam. He has his camera in one hand, a baseball bat gripped in the other. He screams as we rush towards him. A cloaked figure bolts towards him, arms outstretched. He slumps to the floor. The cloaked figure falls on top of him, taking out a needle and injecting him in the neck. His body relaxes and he passes out. The figure removes the grotesque pig mask it is wearing. It is Amanda. Interior sewer night flashback. Amanda drags Adam's unconscious body along the ground. She reaches a huge iron door, knocking 3 times. There is no reply. She grabs the handle and heaves it open, revealing interior bathroom night, continuous flashback, Jigsaw. He is standing in front of a mirror in a large abandoned washroom of some type, wearing only a t-shirt and a pair of boxer shorts. He is applying blood to a fake head wound. He turns to face her, nods with approval.
Put his right leg in the shackle.
Amanda hauls Adam over to the far corner, clamping his ankle into a heavy chain. She then reaches over into the tub, wrenching the faucet and running the water. There's another body lying face down in the opposite corner. Jigsaw takes out a vial of blood, pouring it across the center of the floor carefully. Amanda lifts Adam into the half-filled bathtub. Jigsaw holds out a needle. Amanda turns the water off.
Inject me with this.
What is it?
It's going to slow my heart rate. Relax my muscles.
Amanda injects him like the expert she is.
When I was a little girl, my father would lock me into the stairs. I was terrified of the dark, and he would leave me in there alone for hours.
She glances over at Adam with pity. The memory has taken her back to a dark place.
His actions came from a simple place of drunken cruelty. We do it with clarity and purpose.
He puts his hand on her shoulder. She looks at him.
Implemented properly, fear can help people. It's the reason you're standing here, Amanda.
Amanda nods, understanding. She takes a container of paint, marching over to the corner and unscrewing it. She dips a brush into the paint and swaths an X on the grimy, tiled wall. She turns and heads for the door, switching out the light.
Lock the door behind you.
Adam's body begins sliding down into the water, his head disappearing as Amanda closes the door. She looks back at Adam with pity, then locks the door, sealing off any light. From black, interior Jigsaw's old layer night. Flashback, we reveal Amanda sitting at a desk, poring over a thick tome by Nietzsche. Spread out around her are dozens of volumes on philosophy, atheism, and consciousness. Clang! The distant sound of metal hitting the floor distracts her, and she looks up, sees nothing, and gets back to work. Clang! The sound is closer this time. She looks up again, her eyes scanning the darkened layer.
John?
No reply. She gets up, padding across the layer.
John?
She looks down and sees Jigsaw, fast asleep on a cot. Clang! Her head whips up. The sound is coming from an adjoining room. Her hand snakes out, shaking Jigsaw.
John, there's someone in here.
He doesn't move, seems almost dead, and then she sees a figure, hidden in shadow, pacing in the next room. He approaches, snatching a knife off the bench as she does. The figure walks out of view. Amanda reaches the doorway, stepping on something. She looks down, seeing that it is a photo. The photo is the one Adam took of Amanda in the stairwell. Amanda flicks on the light switch, revealing interior storage room night flashback. A cluttered room with a man standing in the corner, facing the wall, soaking wet. Amanda holds out the knife.
Don't move, or you're dead.
Suddenly, the figure turns around. It's Adam. His flesh is blue and dead, blood dripping from his gunshot wound. He snarls, charging towards her, the chain on his foot dragging behind him as she does. How could you do this to me? Amanda screams. Cut to interior Jigsaw's old lair night flashback. Amanda bolts upright, soaked in sweat. A nightmare. She is slumped at a bench, dozens of books about philosophy spread out around her. She whips her head around, gaining her bearings. She glances over at the sleeping figure of Jigsaw. Slowly, quietly, she gets up and leaves. We see Jigsaw's eyes flick open. He is awake. Interior the sewer night flashback. A pale beam of light soars through the dark. Amanda creeps along at the end of the beam, stopping at the door to the bathroom. She holds up a ring of keys, slotting one into the lock on the door. She grunts as she heaves the door aside, her sleeve flying instinctively to her nose as a putrid smell escapes. She aims her flashlight into the bathroom, finding Adam's body slumped against the wall. looks pretty dead.
Adam?
She steps inside. Interior bathroom night, flashback, traipsing through the blood, stepping over Zep's body. She stops just short of Adam, keeping the flashlight trained on him. His head is flopped forward that she cannot see his face. She crouches down, slowly reaching out to touch his arm. No. Amanda leaps back as Adam suddenly comes alive. His hands claw out for her, insanity and starvation transforming him into a drooling mess.
I'm here to help you.
Adam runs out of energy and his body involuntarily relaxes. No. Amanda positions herself behind Adam.
I'm going to free you.
Adam moans softly. Suddenly, Amanda wraps a sheet of plastic around his face. He struggles wildly, grabbing at her arms, kicking his legs. He thrashes like an animal caught in a net. His head slams against the pipe behind him, blood spraying across the inside of the bag. Amanda tightens her grip, tears spilling down her face. The bag begins to fill with blood.
Sorry. I'm sorry, Adam.
The blood rises, gushing from the wound and slowly passing his mouth. He is literally drowning in his own blood. Adam eventually stops kicking, dead. Amanda relaxes her grip on the bag, sobbing wildly. She holds Adam close to her body, hugging his corpse. Alone once more. Cut 2. Interior corridor, meatpacking facility, night. Present. Darkness. We hear breathing. It's heavy, wheezing, the sound of someone dying. It's Halden. He's walking with Jeff down the corridor, still struggling to breathe from the maggot pit. Jeff reaches the end of the corridor, poking his head around the corner. All he sees are more maze-like hallways.
Left or right? Pick one.
Halden doesn't answer. Jeff turns to face him.
Go the way that gets us out of here.
Jeff smiles. He chooses left, pressing himself against a wall. Halden suddenly collapses out of breath. Jeff paces, frustrated. He scans the hallway, the filth, his surroundings. For the first time, we see a different side of Jeff, scared.
Who would do this? Who could do this? Look at this place. What the fuck is this?
John Kramer.
Jeff turns to Halden.
What?
Halden looks around at the blood-stained walls around him.
This place, that tape, it's John Kramer. You might know him as Jigsaw.
Jeff stares at him incredulous.
I'm a criminal court judge, remember? I've seen his file. Everything about this fits it.
Jeff is flabbergasted. He runs his fingers through his hair, suddenly energized. Halden falls against the wall. He slides down it out of breath.
No, we need to keep moving.
Halden shakes his head, coughing. He looks bad.
I can't.
Jeff leans down.
You can. You can if you force yourself.
Shakes his head again, coughing.
David and Ramona Halden. Remember those names. Tell them I love them so much.
Jeff looks at Halden, taken aback.
No.
Just tell me that you got those names.
Jeff nods.
The sick thing is, I almost feel relieved. I really thought I was going to die back there. At least I don't have to die like that, right?
Hey, you're not going to die. You start convincing yourself of that, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Look at me.
He does. A long beat.
You know, I spent most of my life worrying about something that doesn't even exist. The future. I never lived in the moment. This moment.
Tears appear in his eyes.
I'm sorry about your son. But let me tell you something I know for sure. Something that I've learned after all these years of looking out from the bench at people like you. Good people who've had their lives devastated. No sentence I gave him, not 500 years, not death. None of it would have taken your pain away.
Tears are now in Jeff's eyes too.
Vengeance doesn't solve a thing. It only makes the pain greater.
The judge holds up his hand. Jeff takes it. For a moment, they hold onto it, hand in hand. Then up they get, staggering down the hallway together. Another box awaits them. Jeff opens it. Inside is the empty clip for a gun. Another torn section of photograph sits underneath it. in this one of his daughter Corbett. Jeff removes the picture, staring at it fearfully. The note beside it reads, "One step closer to your revenge." Cut to interior Jigsaw's lair, monitor room, night. Amanda watches Jeff and Halden on the monitor. Her face has the blank expression of the dead soul. Jigsaw's heart rate monitor pulses in the background. Beep, beep, beep. Amanda raises her fist, balling it up as hard as she can. A trickle of blood runs down her arm. Her expression doesn't change as she squeezes harder. She opens her hand. A razor blade sits in the center of her palm. Interior sick room. Jigsaw stares at the candles on the nightstand next to him. He reaches over, picking up a candle, letting the wax drip down onto his fingertips.
Why do we do things we know are going to cause us so much pain?
Lynn sits in the corner, slyly examining the room around her. He begins pouring the wax onto the table next to him.
Would you be so kind as to get me a glass of water, Doctor?
Lynn leans over Jigsaw. She lifts the glass to his lips, giving him a drink.
Thank you.
Amanda suddenly appears through the plastic. Her eyes focus on the water cup in Lynn's hand, rage in her eyes.
Tell me about your daughter, Lynn. I hear she's quite the little athlete.
Amanda moves further into the room. Jigsaw's eyes drift to Amanda.
We're fine, Amanda.
Amanda doesn't move, seething with hatred. Jigsaw turns to Lynn.
Would you please give us a minute?
Lynn turns and walks through the plastic. Interior Jigsaw's lair, night. Lynn is alone. She scans the room, her eyes taking in the chamber of horrors around it. And that's when she sees it, the only other door leading into this facility, the only viable exit. This is her chance. She creeps cautiously towards the door, keeping her eye locked on the sick room behind her. She reaches the door, stooping down and examining the lock. Her breath quivering, she lets the drill bit she's purloined during the operation fall out of her sleeve. She works the drill bit into the lock, jiggling it around and straining to unlock it. She hears Amanda and Jigsaw talking behind her. She whips her head back, waiting, then continuing her work. Click, the door opens. She hears Amanda approaching, quickly standing and backing away from the door. The plastic parts and Amanda enters. She eyes Lynn suspiciously, approaching. Lynn moves away from the door toward the sick room, silently cursing herself. She lets the scalpel drop out of her sleeve. Amanda approaches the door. She sees that it is now open.
Wait.
Lynn stops, her heart pounding. Her back is to Amanda. She stares at the scalpel. It's now or never.
Why is this door open?
She slams it shut once more, then turns around, but it's too late. Lynn is already right behind her. She whips the scalpel towards Amanda's throat. Amanda grabs her wrist and they slam against the wall together, grappling with each other. They fall to the floor. Lynn wrenches her wrists free and slashes Amanda across the shoulder, the blade sinking into her skin. Amanda cries out in agony, looking up as Lynn drives it downwards.
Kill me, and you'll never get the key to your collar.
The blade hovers in the air. Lynn stops, grabbing Amanda by the hair and wrenching her head back. Lynn pushes the blade against her throat.
Take this fucking thing off me or I swear I'll kill you.
Suddenly, Jigsaw begins choking in the next room. We hear his heart rate monitor increase. Amanda smiles.
Better go help him first, Doctor.
Cut to interior corridor, meat packing facility night. Jeff and Halden stalk through the darkened hall. Screaming echoes through the tunnels coming from up ahead. Jeff and Halden stop dead. They squint into the darkness in front of them, then move towards it, scanning left and right, the screaming intensifying as they advance. Finally, they reach a door. They push on it. Something is holding it back. Jeff takes a few steps back, shouldering the door as hard as he can. It gives a little, but isn't quite open. He takes another few steps back, this time putting his back into it. Smash. Interior, the rack room, night. The doors burst open, and the second it does, the grinding of gears begin. A long wire on a pulley, which was tied to the door, has snapped free and set something off. Jeff hits the floor. Halden steps in behind him and gasps. A skinny man wearing only a pair of boxer shorts is facing them, locked into an upright position on a vertical bed of iron. It looks like a wider version of a crucifix, with the man's arms bolted onto armrests which extend out from the main slab. The man's neck is also bolted in place, as are his feet. a helpless victim in the Jesus Christ pose. Jeff looks up and gasps himself. The man on the rack is someone we have already seen. His name is Tim. He is the drunk driver who killed Jeff's son. Halden races over to him, but Jeff simply stares. Their gazes are locked. Tim looks terrified. Jeff just looks enraged.
Come on, help him!
Jeff stays where he is.
Please don't do this to me. It's wrong what you're doing.
Halden scoops up a mini recorder on the ground, pressing play.
Hello, Jeff. If you are listening to this, that means the confrontation you have long dreamed of is finally unfolding in reality.
Tim sobs like a frightened child.
In your head, he is a cipher, a symbol of your life changing, a symbol of death. I present him to you as a human being. His name is Timothy Young. He is 27. He's a 27-year-old man, a former medical student with a mother and father, a man whose life also changed the night your son died. That night he made a terrible mistake. You believed he didn't pay for that mistake. Now it's your chance to make him.
Halden walks around to the back of the rack.
The device Timothy is strapped to is my personal favorite. I call it the rack. If someone doesn't help him, the device is going to fold him up. There's a chance he might live, though, with your help. To your left is a hole in the wall. At the end of the hole is a key tied to the trigger of a shotgun. The question you have to ask yourself, Jeff, is this: are you willing to take a bullet for the man who killed your son?
Tape hiss trails the message. Halden scrambles over to a hole bored into the concrete wall, squinting into it.
Have some mercy, for Christ's
As
sake.
he screams, the upper and lower halves of his body start bending backwards at the waist as the rack begins to fold in half. It's agonizingly slow, like a long-lost relic of the Spanish Inquisition. Tim sobs like a baby.
I'm begging you. Don't do this to me. Don't let me die. Not
Halden
like
sees a
this.
key at the far end of the hole.
I can see a key!
Jeff still hasn't moved. He is literally trembling with rage.
You took everything from me. My son, my life.
It wasn't an accident.
Jeff, there's a key in here!
He reaches in, groping for the key.
I can't reach it!
He spins around, desperate, stunned to find that Jeff is doing nothing more than staring at Tim. He runs over to him, pleading.
His time is running out. Do you want to beat Jigsaw or become an accomplice?
The gears on the medieval rack grind louder. Tim screams in pain and fear, realizing now that this is very real. His body is bent into the shape of a bow. Urine pours out of his trousers. His shrieks are wild and primal, the type you've only ever heard a child muster.
Oh, please, God, don't do this to me. Please, I'm begging you, please.
Halden tries to reason with Jeff above the din.
Are you a murderer?
Jeff doesn't respond. Halden hits him across the face.
Answer me! Are you a murderer?
I've thought about killing him every night for the past 3 years. Maybe I am.
No, you're not.
Jeff finally looks at him. Halden sees in Jeff's eyes that he has gone over the edge. He snaps into action, running to the wall and staring into the hole. He sees the key. A plastic cord attached to it is coiled around the trigger of a shotgun, which is buried at the far end of the hole, pointed directly at him. He reaches in, straining to reach the key. His grasp is an inch short. Tim's screaming is incoherent now, veins bulging in his neck, spittle flying everywhere. The rack folds further. We can actually hear the sinew of Tim's muscles stretching to their limits. Halden positions himself one last time, reaching inside. Jeff's chest heaves as moral choices swirl in his head.
Dylan, please forgive me.
He races over to the wall, pushing Halden to the side. He shoves his arm into the hole, straining to reach the key. He lowers himself as best he can, closing his eyes. Is he really about to do this? The cord is taut. The shotgun trigger creaks. With one deep breath, Jeff pulls on the key as hard as he can. Boom! The shotgun explodes with a deafening volley, blowing Halden backwards and peppering his chest with buckshot. He slams against the opposite wall, collapsing. Tim lets out his loudest scream yet as the armrests begin to fold downward. The whole device is closing in on itself. With a sickening crack, Tim's arms break at the elbows. Jeff looks down at the strewn key. He stoops down, snatching it up, racing over to Tim, trying to unlock the clamp around his waist. The device actually buckles, unable to close completely, as Tim's stomach muscles hold strong. Jeff puts the key in, but it's too late. Tim's stomach rips. Blood and bowels explode out of his torn gut as the rack folds into a horizontal slab of iron, his feet now level with his head. He has been folded in half. His screams continue unabated until the headrest also folds downward, breaking his neck. The gears grind to a halt. The rack has finished its work. Halden twitches. His shoulder is bleeding, but he is alive. With Tim no longer screaming, the room is suddenly as quiet as an empty church. Jeff looks up at a camera mounted on the ceiling, a red light blinking on it. Interior Jigsaw's lair, monitor room, night. Amanda meets Halden's gaze on the monitor. She looks numb, as if the destruction she has just wrought brings her no satisfaction. Amanda's gaze drifts down to a gun she is holding in the sick room. Lynn is taking Jigsaw's vital signs. They are in mid-conversation.
How can you be living with the dead when you have such a beautiful family? A husband who is endured alone, a daughter who needs her mother, patients who need a competent physician who looks them in the eye and treats them like human beings.
He watches her closely.
In the blink of an eye, one heart stopped, and yours did too. The tragedy has haunted you to the point where you no longer live, and you're killing your family in the process. Is that what you want?
Lynn is clearly affected by what Jigsaw just said. Footsteps approach from outside and Amanda enters.
Completed the third test.
Jigsaw turns to Lynn.
Congratulations, Lynn. You are free to go now.
Amanda shakes her head.
Free to go? No, not yet. He hasn't made it all the way.
Undo her collar, Amanda.
A tense beat, and then it comes.
No, he is not all the way.
Amanda, Lynn is more important than you know. Unlock her collar and let her go.
Amanda reveals the gun she was hiding behind her back.
I said no.
Amanda, the rules are very clear.
She does not deserve to go free.
You promised me I could leave. Please let me go.
Lynn is pleading with Amanda, who is glaring at Jigsaw. It's a standoff.
Amanda, even with that gun, it is Lynn who holds your life in her hands.
Fuck you. You give her control over me?
Lynn panics, begins to back away, her eyes darting between Jigsaw and Amanda. Amanda has a crazed look in her eyes, the look of a killer. Lynn sobs, begging for her life, continuing to back away from Amanda.
I swear to God, I won't say a thing to anybody. I won't. I promise. Please, I have a family.
Shut up.
Jigsaw stays locked on Amanda, ignoring Lynn.
Amanda, please. Let her go.
She is nothing.
What about the other test subjects we left alive?
What about him?
Is that how you felt about them?
What about him?
Is that how you felt about Eric Matthews?
Eric Matthews? I'll tell you how I felt about Eric Matthews. He took my life from me. I just returned the fucking favor.
I know, Amanda.
Amanda turns to look at Jigsaw stunned. We move away from him toward the light. Dissolve to interior bathroom night flashback. A face. The face of a desperate man soaked in sweat, his foot chained to a pipe. This is Detective Eric Matthews. He is lying on the floor, clawing out towards something or someone. We do not see what he is looking at.
No, you fucking bitch, I'll fucking kill you.
Game over.
The light in the room begins to fade as a door is slammed shut. The only light that remains is the pale beam of a flashlight. Eric sits up, a pillar of pure rage. He wrenches his foot as hard as he can, trying to pull it through the clamp. He scans around desperate, spotting a hacksaw. He snatches it up, staring at it, contemplating. He presses the rusted blade of the saw against the flesh of his ankle. An agonizing beat follows. The blade draws blood. Eric's hand trembles. Eric hurls the blade away, punching the wall. He gropes around the pipe, searching for another way out, his breathing heavy. Finally, he stands up, stares down at his foot. He closes his eyes, grits his teeth, and then smashes his foot down on the floor of the bathroom, toes facing downwards. He screams out in pain and smashes it down on the floor once more, breaking his foot to get it out of the chain. He slumps to the ground in agony, grimacing as he pulls his foot through the chain. With a cry heard in hell, he forces his broken foot through the clamp. He stands up, balancing on his other foot, then hops over to the door. He grips the handle, jerking it open. It slides open reluctantly, groaning like a beast. Interior sewer, outside bathroom night, flashback. Eric peering out cautiously. He limps out into the sewer, wincing as his foot throbs with pain, his eyes darting left and right. He takes another step and collapses. Interior sewer night flashback. A figure is pacing the tunnels. It is Amanda. Her head whips up when she hears Eric's collapse. She listens, hearing feet shuffling in the distance as someone approaches.
I'm gonna fucking kill you. Do you hear me?
Panicked, she retreats into an alcove, holding her breath. The shuffling gains in volume. Amanda covers her own mouth. The footsteps are close now, the tension unbearable. Eric limps past, using a metal pole as a crutch. Amanda watches him go, listening to his footsteps recede into the tunnels. When his footsteps have faded sufficiently, she steps out of the shadows, scampering after him. He's easy to follow. He's making so much noise. She follows him down the tunnels as they twist and turn, then suddenly stops. She can't hear him anymore. She creeps forward, looking left and right. Her breathing is all we can hear. That's when Eric leaps out of an alcove to Amanda's immediate left, smashing her across the chest with the pole. She slams against the opposite wall, breaking a wall-mounted light.
I'm gonna fucking kill you.
A terrified Amanda struggles, but he's too mad and too strong. He continues to slam her face against the wall, again and again and again. Blood pours from Amanda's face.
Where's my son? Where the fuck is he?
He's alive.
Where is he?
He's okay. I swear to you. I swear to God. I swear to God.
Eric grabs her by the hair, pushing her face against the slime-soaked wall.
Take him to me right now, or I swear to God I will kill you.
He's safe.
Where?
Right here.
With that, she stomps down on his broken foot. He screams in agony, falling back against the wall. She breaks free, sprinting off down the sewer. We follow her as she rounds a corner in the tunnel, leaving Eric behind. Eric screams after her.
You're not Jigsaw, you hear me? You're nothing. You'll never be Jigsaw.
Amanda suddenly stops running, frozen.
You're a worthless, junky bitch.
Amanda turns around slowly. She is literally trembling with rage. We see her transform in front of our eyes. And with that, she unsheaths the knife from her jacket, rushing at him like a screaming banshee. We see Eric brace himself against the wall as she comes into view again. She plunges the knife into his stomach. Eric looks down, stunned by the attack. She wrenches it across, cutting him open, then pulls it out. Pure fury burns in Amanda's eyes. She stabs him again and again, relentless.
Do you see me now? Huh? Do you see me now, you motherfucker?
She buries the blade in his neck one last time, then retracts it. She stares at her hands, all covered in blood. Anger still courses through her. She stares down at Eric's corpse. She has changed. She is a killer. Exterior inside minivan night. Jigsaw is sitting alone, his face bloody and beaten. He looks like he might be dead, until we hear a door open, a figure climbing in next to him.
It's done. He's in the bathroom. Alive.
Jigsaw smiles ever so slightly. We hear the engine kick to life. The sick room, Jigsaw's lair, night, continued present. Amanda glares at Jigsaw.
That's right. I'm a murderer, but you're a fucking hypocrite. You torture people, you watch them die, and now you're begging me not to kill this worthless bitch on the ground of some fucking game? What you do is no different than murder.
You are walking us towards a precipice, Amanda. Step back.
Bullshit. It's all a lie. Nobody changes. Nobody is reborn. Eric Matthews learned nothing from your test. He was the same person when he arrested me, when he framed me, when he took me down.
If you fail in this, we all fail.
That's a lie. If you succeed, we all succeed.
She turns to Lynn.
So show me. And what has she learned?
She cocks the gun, aiming at Lynn, who continues to back up toward the plastic sheets, walling off the sick room.
We'll see.
How has she changed? I'll tell you. She hasn't. Nobody changes. Nobody is reborn. It's all a lie. Everything is a lie. I'm just a stupid pawn in all this. I don't mean anything to you.
You mean everything to me.
At that moment, we see something we have never seen on Jigsaw's face before. Real pain. He swallows, stung by her words.
Fuck you.
Our fates are inexorably linked.
Fuck you.
I've tried to help you.
Jigsaw just listens, devastated.
Then help me now. Fix me. Fix me, motherfucker. I'm standing right here. Fix me.
Jigsaw says nothing, doesn't interfere with her moment of truth, her all-important choice. Amanda starts crying. She turns to Lynn.
And why is she so important to you?
She's not important to me. She's important to you.
She's not important to me.
Please, please don't do this.
I beg you to reconsider that. She's not important to me. She's important to you. I beg you, consider that.
Interior of the rack room night. Jeff slowly hauls himself to his feet, skin missing from his arms and face, covered in filth. This man who has been through hell. He prods Halden, who is slumped against the wall.
Alden?
Halden doesn't respond. He's gone, surrounded by a pool of blood. Jeff limps over to the door, grabs the handle, waiting for a fresh new hell, and opens it. Interior corridor, meatpacking facility night. Another corridor. Ahead of him, he sees another door. He moves towards it. His heart is pounding. He opens the door. Interior corridor, outside Jigsaw's lair, night. Barely able to stand, much less walk, Jeff pulls himself along the corridor. He follows a bend, and there in front of him is a narrow corridor, much like the one he woke up in, with a large iron door at the end. He stumbles forward and then stops. Another gift box is waiting for him. Jeff can barely find the strength to bend down and reveal its contents. He plucks the box off the ground and opens it. Inside the box is a gun. He takes the empty clip and the bullet out of his pocket. He loads the clip awkwardly, jamming the bullet in, and then smacks it into the handle of the gun. It's loaded and ready to go. There's another torn section of a photograph lying inside the box, the final piece. Jeff turns it over. The face in the picture is Lynn. Jeff stares transfixed at the photo. Moments pass. Then something hits him. He reaches into his pocket, pulling out the other torn sections. Him, Corbett, and his son. The pieces all belong to one picture. The last item in the box is a note. It reads, "Last chance." Jeff scans the corridor. Only one way to go, toward the iron door. From behind the door, he can hear the muffled shouts of a woman. He drags himself along the corridor, wary. The closer he gets to the door, the louder the screams and pleas for help become. Interior of the sick room, Jigsaw's lair, night. Lynn backs closer to the plastic. Amanda follows her.
He's not important to me. She's not important to me.
Amanda, your time is almost up.
Please, I don't want to die.
She's not important.
Amanda, this is your last chance. Think about what you're doing. What you promised me.
She's nothing.
Amanda points the gun at Lynn. Smash cut to interior corridor outside Jigsaw's lair, night. Jeff listens in horror, trying the door handle. It's locked. He takes out the original key he was given in the wake-up room out of his pocket. He reads the note attached to it. Open the door, Jeff. He puts the key into the lock, turning it. Click. It opens. Interior Jigsaw's lair, night. Jeff enters the massive room, his eyes adjusting to the light. At the far end, voices scream. Bang! Jeff stops for a brief second. In front of him, a doorway of plastic is showered in blood. Interior of the sick room, Jigsaw's lair night. Lynn gags, her head flopping forward onto her chest, lolling like the head of a rag doll. Blood pours from her chest. Amanda steps back from her vicious handiwork. Jigsaw drops his head, devastated. He stares at her with sorrow. His voice is weak. He no longer appears as the cold-blooded Jigsaw, but as John, the human being.
You just destroyed 3 lives. Hers, yours, and mine. You just murdered Jeff's wife.
Before Amanda can even react, she turns to see a figure standing outside the plastic. Jeff. Blam. He charges through the plastic, firing a single bullet into Amanda's body. She staggers backwards, clutching her chest. Jeff runs to Lynn, cradling her head. She gargles blood, struggling to breathe.
Oh, no, Lynn. Lynn.
Amanda turns her head to face Jigsaw, betrayal smeared into her eyes. This was your game.
This was your game, Amanda. Your test. I was testing you. I could have saved you. Could have fixed you.
Amanda cannot believe what she is hearing. What follows is a swirling Saw-style montage that assaults our senses with sound and fury. Flash cut to the sick room. Flashback to earlier in the film. Lynn and Amanda stand in the sick room with Jigsaw. This time we notice that Jigsaw is looking at Amanda and not Lynn.
I want to play a game. The rules of the game are simple. The consequences of breaking them are complex. Death. You are being tested. Your will is being tested. Your will to keep someone alive.
Flash cut to interior sick room. Flashback later. Again, Jigsaw speaks to Lynn and Amanda. However, again, we notice his eyes are directed at Amanda and not Lynn.
You follow the rules and grant someone the gift of life.
Flash cut to interior jaw trap room night. Flashback. The beginning of it all. Amanda struggles desperately. The monstrous jaw trap clamped onto her face.
I tested you once before, and you passed.
Flash cut to Jigsaw's old lair. Flashback. We are revisiting a scene from earlier. Jigsaw circles Amanda, who stares straight ahead obediently.
You will give everything to me. Every cell in your body.
Yes.
I took you in. I cared for you. I selected you for the honor of carrying on my work. You swore that you would.
Flash cut to interior Jigsaw's old lair night. Flashback. Amanda creeps out of the lair past the sleeping figure of Jigsaw. Jigsaw opens his eyes, listening to her leave.
But you didn't.
Interior bathroom night. Flashback. Adam dies as Amanda drowns him in his own blood.
You didn't test anyone's will to live.
Sewer flashback. Amanda stabs Eric over and over.
You simply murdered them.
Interior bathroom night. Flashback. Amanda props Adam up in the half-filled bathtub. She tosses the key in the tub with him, then glances over at Jigsaw. He isn't looking. Quickly, she wraps the chain on the bath plug around his left ankle.
You took away their only chance.
Interior bathroom night later. Flashback. Amanda gives one last look of pity before closing the bathroom door.
Whilst giving them false pity.
Classroom elementary school flashback. Back to the opening scene. We see the door. We see Troy's face staring at the door.
Your games were unwinnable. Your subjects, merely victims.
The bomb goes off, blowing us into subterranean chamber. Flashback. Carrie whips the key out of the acid. She slots it into the lock on the harness on the rib splitter, opening it, but the device stays on her. The door to the chamber opens and a cloaked figure steps inside. Now we see who it is. Amanda. She smiles. You. The rib splitter explodes open, Carrie's ribs with it.
You become what I despise, Amanda. A killer.
Flash cut to the sick room. Flashback. Amanda holds the knife to Lynn's throat.
My legacy has been destroyed.
Corridor flashback. Jeff whips his head up, coming to.
In my desperation, I decided to give you one last chance.
Flash cut to interior corridor outside the freezer. Jigsaw hobbles through the facility with the aid of a cane, laying a box at the door of the freezer.
I put everything in place.
The sick room flashback. Amanda shoots Lynn.
And let the game begin. I let you make your own choices.
Interior the sick room present. Jeff stares hopelessly down at Lynn, crying. Amanda sinks slowly to the floor, not taking her eyes off Jigsaw.
You didn't know that Lynn and Jeff were husband and wife. I had to keep that from you for the purposes of the game.
Living room, Denlin house, day, flashback. Jeff and Lynn fight. Corbett watches in the background.
I had to leave out the ruined marriage.
Flash cut to the condominium, flashback. Lynn and Chris embrace each other, kissing passionately.
The cheating wife.
Child's bedroom, flashback. Jeff points the gun at an imaginary victim.
The vengeful husband.
Corbett's bedroom, flashback. Corbett cries as Jeff storms out of her room.
The neglected daughter.
The sick room, present. Jeff looks up, rage filling him.
I wanted your sister to succeed, Amanda. But you failed.
Jeff stands up, towering over Amanda. He snatches up a nearby metal stake, holding it aloft.
Game over.
Jeff drives the pole into Amanda's head. Jigsaw looks away. We see tears, actual tears in his eyes. The only sound is Lane's breathing and the steady pulse of the heart rate monitor. Beep, beep, beep. When Jigsaw finally speaks, it is the voice of a broken man.
Jeff, I am sorry for what you have been through, but your part in the game is not over yet. This is your final test. Will you forgive me for the pain I have caused you and your wife?
Jeff stares hopelessly down at his wife, a shell of a man, his cries echoing throughout the room. Beep, beep, beep.
Your wife is dying, Jeff. Her time is running out.
Jeff turns to face Jigsaw, rage in his eyes. He stalks towards the bed, smashing aside anything and everything in his way.
Haven't you learned anything tonight? Your rage, your vengeance will only hurt the ones you love.
Jeff moves towards Jigsaw, tears falling down his cheeks.
Killing me will only add to your misery, Jeff. It will not bring back your son or your dying wife. Think of your daughter, Jeff. She needs you now more than ever.
For the first time thus far, Jigsaw leans forward, reaching for something unseen.
You sick fuck.
Jeff takes another step closer.
You sick fuck.
Jigsaw grabs something off a small table sitting next to him. Jeff notices.
What's in your hand? What's in your fucking hand?
Jeff spots the pneumatic saw sitting on the floor. He snatches it up.
I will say this one more time, and when you hear it, know that I am ready to die.
Jeff stands over him, switching the pneumatic saw on. It screams to life.
You can't kill me, Jeff.
Jeff holds the pneumatic saw above him like a dagger.
This is for my son.
And with that, he drives the blade down into Jigsaw's neck, slicing it open. Lynn's eyes open and close. She is fading fast.
Oh.
A geyser of blood blasts Jeff in the face as he forces the blade across, cutting Jigsaw's throat. Jigsaw's heart rate monitor palpates feverishly as he rides on the bed. Beep, 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 beep. And then it culminates in one long whining note. Beep. A flat line. Jigsaw is dead. Jeff steps back, chest heaving, his bloodlust satisfied. The device around Lynn's neck beeps loudly. Jeff looks over at her. She returns his look, pure horror on her face. She manages to gasp out just one word.
No.
For a moment, there is nuclear silence, then an explosion, then blackness. Interior, the sick room, Jigsaw's lair, night, later. Jeff. He is splayed across the floor, his body twisted, his face blackened by ash. His eyes flutter open, and he bears witness to the macabre scene around him. Amanda lies crooked, limbs askew, her head shattered. Jigsaw's body lies face down on the floor, blood pooling around him, a pose eerily similar to that of his faked death in Saw 1. And then the most gruesome sight of all, the headless body of Lynn.
Oh,
Jeff is frozen, unable to move. Time seems to stand still. Clank. Behind Jeff, something falls to the floor from Jigsaw's hand. Jeff turns around and through blank eyes spots it, a micro cassette recorder. He reaches out and grabs the recorder, unable to believe the world he has found himself in. He presses play. Tape hiss, then a voice. Even with Jigsaw lying dead nearby, it chills the blood.
Hello, Jeff. I made this tape as an insurance policy. And if you are listening to it, then it's time to collect.
Jeff comes out of his numb state, his heart racing.
I was your final test, Jeff. Your final test of forgiveness. And if you are listening to this, then you failed. Now you must pay the price.
Interior crawl space night. Suddenly we are winding through the dark confines of a wall, twisting and turning through a labyrinth of cobweb wood.
The price of holding on to all that anger.
Interior the sick room. Jeff cannot believe what he is hearing.
The price of driving your own wife away from you.
The crawl space. We keep winding past pipes and wiring, the light disappearing as we explore the subterranean skeleton.
The price of living for nothing but vengeance.
The sick room. Jeff shakes his head, gripping his hair and trying to will away this nightmare.
Now I will give you something to live for. I told you couldn't kill me, Jeff, but I didn't tell you why. And the answer is simple.
Interior crawl space. We are now far, far underground somewhere, and we come to rest on a wall. From behind the wall, we can hear the screams of a young girl.
Help! Help me!
Interior the sick room. Jigsaw's breathing crackles on the tape.
I am the person responsible for the loss of your child. I am the only person who knows where your daughter is. She only has a limited supply of air. And if you want to get her back, then you'll have to play a game.
Jeff screams, a more powerful scream than we've ever heard. He could be screaming no, but we can't make it out. We're losing him, the sound fading. Our vision fades with it, and then it's dark again, like it is for all of us, eventually. Fade out.
And on that dark and morbid note, that is going to finish out the Saw trilogy. Thank you all for joining us, and we will see you at the next spooky one.